Hi, my name is Christopher Royse. It's very nice to meet you today. Didn't come off quite right now, did it? Let's try it a different way. Hello, my name is Christopher Royse. It's very nice to meet you today. Now, which would you rather be greeted with? Now, what this encompasses is something called nonverbal communication. And it's not so much of what you're saying, but how you're saying it and how you're being perceived as what you're saying. So today I'd like to go on a little rundown of what you can do as a professional or even in your social life to be better at communicating, mostly in a nonverbal way. So let's begin. So, what is nonverbal communication? Well, to put it simply, it's communicating without words. You're using everything but your words. You're using your hand gestures, the way you look at people. It's the tone of your voice, the way you're smiling or frowning somebody. It's the way you carry yourself, like with your posture. It's the gestures you use with your body, if I hadn't already said that, with your appendages and just the way you sway your body and such. So basically, it's everything but the words you're using. It's how people perceive you, and people perceive you in a multitude of ways, whether it's the way your hair looks, the way your voice sounds, the way your eyes look. So basically what you're doing is using various types of body language to communicate with others. Now, there is positive body language, there is negative body language. So typically, you'd imagine you'd want to use positive body language when you're trying to talk to someone you never talked to before, trying to get a job, trying to talk about a subject that not many people really agree with or understand. So it can be used in a lot of various ways to help you out in your career or your life. So with all that being said, there was an Armenian professor by the name of Dr. Mehrabian. I apologize if I butchered that name. He did a case study on nonverbal and verbal communication, and his conclusion was pretty surprising. Let's look at this pie chart here. It says simply that 7% of communication between people is, on average, 7% words of what's being perceived is just 7% of the words. And 93% of what's being perceived is everything but the words, the nonverbal communication. And within that 93% is 55% of that 93% is actually body language, which we just discussed. And 38% is the tone of your voice. It's actually, again, what we said previously, it's how you're saying something. So like at the beginning of this presentation, again, which would you rather talk to, the monotone robot or the enthusiastic young man? Now, I keep talking about how you can use positive nonverbal communication in your everyday life to propel you forward. There's actually 5 different roles that can be used with nonverbal communication, and that's these right here. We have repetition, contradiction, substitution, complimenting, and accenting. And I'll just briefly go over these. So with nonverbal communication, you can kind of repeat what you're saying. You say it with the words, but you can kind of repeat it with your gestures. Like for example, if I'm really happy and I'll say, I won the lottery. Well, you can also throw your hands in the air and say, I won the lottery. That'll be way more emphasized than if you hadn't. Contradiction. You can kind of contradict yourself. So this isn't really used all that often unless you're a spy or you're trying to get a secret message across. But basically, you can kind of contradict yourself, kind of like I did in the beginning. I was being very monotone, but the words I was using was as if I was excited to see you, but the tone was definitely not the same. There's also substitution. You can substitute for a verbal message. So example is a person's eyes can often convey far more vivid message than words would. So if I've got that 1,000-yard stare, obviously that's going to hit your soul a little bit more than the word war. Going back to the roles, complimenting and accenting are kind of the same thing. Basically, you're adding more emphasis to your words. You're kind of accenting and underlining what you're saying. So if I'm a big supervisor, a big corporate exec, and I'm trying to get everyone around me excited, I'm going to be like this one. You need to expound upon your workflow. That's just an example. So there's many different ways you can use. There is nonverbal communication which can be used, and there's different ways you can use it. So it's a wonderful thing that we mostly subconsciously use. However, if you consciously use it, it can be a very powerful tool. And I'd like to give you all a few tips on how to perfect your nonverbal communication. So tip number 1, I guess, posture. Now I'm going to be basically reiterating things I've said previously, but I really want you to understand the essence of what nonverbal communication is. Again, it's very important, apparently. Your posture. You should want to look like you're confident and comfortable. You don't want to look slouched over and you're scared. So right now with these tips, I'm going to show you kind of a positive versus negative body language that you could use. Again, both can be used in various ways, but you'll probably want to stick to positive, the whole honey over vinegar sort of thing. They say, especially if you're standing, you might want to keep your legs slightly apart because it'll show that you're taking up more space, like some animals do when they're trying to get the attention of other animals. They'll puff up. Standing apart will also show more confidence and show that you're grounded. Don't cross your arms, especially when you're presenting, because you don't want to. I want you all to listen to me. No. Even if you could talk in a very positive way, crossing your arms still feels like to other people that you're nervous or that you're unsure. When you're giving handshakes, make sure they're firm, but not too firm. You don't want to break your boss's hand, automatically get fired the very first day. Try to be aware of what you're feeling. They say try to control your emotions. Just be aware. If you're nervous, do some breathing. You could do breathing before a presentation. You could even do what they call power pauses within a presentation. For an example, hello, we are here today to talk about. That's kind of a power pause. That's a little bit much, but you could use that power pause to let your audience think of what you're saying, and so you can kind of think of what you're about to say. Again, some more tips. Play with the tone of your voice. Again, you don't want a monotone voice. You kind of want to go, not exactly in those frequencies, but you get what I'm saying. You want to sound excited, and you want to come off as you know what you're saying and you're confident about what you're saying. When the going gets tough, smile. Perhaps that smile will help your brain smile. Perhaps your presentation will come off wonderfully. I was having trouble with this presentation earlier, and it's because I wasn't smiling enough. Smiles help a bit. Trust your instincts. It kind of goes with be aware of what you're feeling. If you feel like you're going to vomit, excuse me, and go vomit. That's a really extreme example, but again, pay attention to inconsistencies, and this is mostly when you're practicing. Make sure that when you're saying certain things, you're saying it in a way that it'll be perceived correctly and efficiently, and make sure you're always saying that same thing like that. Try to create consistency in how you say things and how you present that. It's kind of obvious. And again, eye contact, especially when you're presenting to one or thousands of people. I know you're not going to be able to look at thousands of people at once, but give each person their due. Make sure you're paying attention to everyone if you can. And you're not. And here's a little tip: you don't have to look directly into the eyes of someone. If you're nervous about doing that, look right above their eyes, or imagine they're naked. That always seems to work for some people. So there you have it. Now you know more about nonverbal communication and how important it can be, and the roles it plays in communicating. Whether you're communicating with your boss, your friends, your family, your pets, whatever it is. I believe these tips can be used as very vital tools for any type of communication. And thank you very much for your time. And don't forget to smile, keep eye contact, and stay positive. Thank you.